Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Over the weekend, more NBA news saw Chris Paul, Blake Griffin opting out of their contracts. Not a shock there for the Clippers, but what does it really mean? Also on the TV side, people are upset Tebow got promoted to high A ball. I think people also lose sight of how many levels of minor league baseball there can be per organization. Will Cain, the Russillo Show, it's ESPN Radio. Presented by Progressive Insurance, creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. We're waiting on Jordan Spieth, who won yesterday at the Travelers, so it's like 20 minutes away, and they we have confirmation to be calling it any moment now. So I don't know. Did you see his finish, chipping in?
I saw his finish. What's the youngest? Isn't it weird when like these athletes are getting younger and younger than us, right? And you start to say, I really think he's great. Idolize him. You're like, it's weird. He's so much younger than me. Like I can't be putting this guy on a pedestal because he's 24. But Jordan is that guy for me.
All right, but is that
Longhorn, Dallas, living the dream?
Do I want to stay at Austin, or how much fun is it to go to school in Austin?
So much fun, unequivocally, so much fun.
And you went there for grad school or undergrad?
I went there for law school, and
was that better than undergrad? You think, or worse?
I knew what I had. I went to college at a small school.
That's right. You went to Pepperdine.
So here I had this big school in this great city.
So you figured it all out. All right. So from one Longhorn to another, Jordan Spieth joins us now, winner of the Travelers. So Jordan, I'm watching, everybody that's in the crowd, you're sitting there, you're in this playoff, and you're lining up that chip. That ends up winning you the tournament. What were your realistic thoughts of how that was coming up, that chip out of the sand? I mean, did you really actually think that thing could go in? Where were you at when you were approaching that?
Well, no, I was definitely just trying to get it up and down and go to another place. There was obviously a bonus for it to actually drop, but it was amazing. I mean, the crowd there was second to none, big amphitheater. They were going nuts the entire week, and then I kind of lost it when it actually came down right on the pin. But no, it was a good position to be in. I was out of position off the tee, so. I was just trying to get to another playoff hole.
You're right. You were off, to the Berger hit it to the left. So, all right, so he goes first. You're on this playoff hole. He looks like he's got a massive challenge in front of you. How mad do you get at yourself for then kind of doing the exact same thing where your drive isn't very good?
Yeah, I was frustrated. It's not that hard of a tee shot, and I hit 4 good ones in the 4 rounds we had played, and I just mishit it, and it kind of didn't quite clear one of the trees that I take it over. And I got pretty fortunate that it when it went into the tree, it actually popped back out in the fairway. I was really far from the green, but it could have been a lot worse. So it was a good break there. But yeah, walking off that tee, Daniel had hit it over there in the left rough, which is a tough spot. So if I hit the fairway, I've got a huge advantage. And then all of a sudden, it turns back towards his advantage once I hit it in the bunker. But it was kind of a crazy whirlwind at the end of the round there. I mean, I was really grinding and Bug, as I've known Daniel since we were 14 playing against each other. He's kind of got ice in his veins. I mean, the guy just loves the moment. He's making birdies closing in, and it was something that we always wanted to do. We've actually talked about it, being in a playoff with each other. We just kind of want to take each other on one-on-one. It's a fun challenge. It's cool that we used to do that 10 years ago, in the World. This moment was mine. I got the breaks today, and hopefully we get another opportunity. He's going to win many more times in his career as well.
Jordan, where'd that club land? I mean, you hawked it, and I've seen the clip like 10 times, and I can't see where the club lands.
I'm not sure. I really don't know why I threw the club. I don't know if I've ever done it before. I just kind of popped up, saw it coming down on the flagstick, and it was in sync with my caddy Michael Greller's rake throw. There's a slow motion video that's unbelievable of him tossing the rake up in the air as my club gets thrown horizontally into the side of the bunker, and then we run up and chest bump, and I mean it was loud. The ground was shaking. It was it was such a cool experience. I don't know if I'll ever have a moment like that again in my career. I mean, I feel fortunate to have one, and certainly soaked it in.
Well, on that note, I don't know if you keep any sort of internal mental list, but I mean, single shot, your favorite single shot, is that quickly number one?
Well, I would have to I hit my second shot at the 2015 Masters on the 13th hole there, the famous par 5, went for it in 2 and hit the green that essentially won the Masters at the time, and that will probably always be kind of the shot I look back on and say, man, I'm manned up and hit that shot, and that was a life changer for me. This one will definitely be up there. This was spectacular. It was, again, a bit of luck involved for it to go in, but I was in that bunker in regulation, and I knew it was in a good spot, and I just tried to hit the same shot just a little bit further to the right, a foot further to the right. You can only do so much out of a bunker. You can't exactly judge the spot it's going to land. It's a lot harder, but fortunate with that one.
Talking with Jordan Spieth, again, wins the Travelers playoff hole, chip in from the bunker. Now, I may have this wrong, but I'm at home, I'm watching, and then you hit it right into the rough, and it was kind of a ball position beneath your feet, and you had water to the right, and I don't know if that was the 14th, but you were talking with your caddy, and it ended up being kind of mic'd up. And I love that stuff, and he was just basically saying, Jordan, I don't see the point of the risk, and then you just turn to him and go, what risk? And then you ended up hitting your shot. Like, can you take us through what that dynamic is like when it seems like you and the caddy are on completely different pages on your approach and how that worked out for you?
Well, yeah.
Was it the 14th?
It was number 13.
13,
I put the
okay.
par 5 there,
Par 5.
and I drove it over next to the water. It was in a little dangerous spot. I was out of position. It's a tricky hole. There's water right off the tee and left by the green, so I could take the trouble out by laying it back, which was Michael's suggestion, which is the right play from his perspective.
Is there ever a time where the caddy can overrule you?
Yes, I've given Michael 2 vetoes a year, along with hey, red light situation, step in and tell me what to do, pretty much. But yeah, 2 vetoes.
2 a year.
He hasn't used one this year.
So he's allowed to twice over an entire season with you say no, and then he only has one left.
Yeah.
No, he hasn't
Pretty
used
much.
it this year, he said.
He hasn't used one. It's 2 vetoes a year, but any kind of situation where it looks like I'm trying to do a little too much, he'll step in and definitely offer something. But 2 times where he can take the club out of my hand, snap it over his knee, and hand a different one, pretty much, saying, this is a play, we're going to do this. So we haven't tried, we haven't experienced it, but and hopefully it doesn't need to, but he's got that in his pocket.
Awesome. Hey, congrats again. It was so much fun for all of us watching. I know it was a great crowd. It's Jordan Spieth, your Travelers champ from yesterday. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
We got Will Cain all day with us. Nothing makes a summer birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Russillo Show presented by Progressive Insurance. All our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Apparently, this Dockich sound that we're going to play, Dan Dockich, a guy I love. I think he's so good at radio. Did a bunch of stuff with Mike and Mike. I'm obviously setting up the part where I'm probably going to crush him here very shortly because so Rudy said he has a take on Chris Paul where I'm going to apparently lose my mind. So we're going to get to that in a minute or two. But Will, on First Take, you're here all week on First Take, right?
That's right.
So the thing you said today that made people the most upset, and I'm not doing this like, oh, Will, you're such an antagonist. But like you said something about one of these new super teams that people seem to be upset about.
Yeah, I said 2 things, so it's a tie for which made people the most upset.
What was the other thing?
I said that if LeBron James signs with the Los Angeles Lakers next year, the face of the franchise will still be Lonzo Ball for the next decade. Lonzo Ball is the face of Los Angeles Lakers franchise. And it's not about who's the best player on the team. It's about so many other factors. I have no doubt LeBron will be the best player on that team.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're.
But it's Lonzo's team.
So they'd put Lonzo on the cover of stuff?
Mm-hmm. Well, they'd probably sell a few,
few LeBron yearbooks?
Programs. LeBron on the front. But Lonzo will be with him.
I don't have enough time to even consume that right now. So we might want to table that one.
I believe it.
Yeah. Okay.
Second, Yeah, I just think that the reports out, Brian Windhorst was on our show just a little bit earlier here, suggesting that should Melo or D. Wade be bought out by the Knicks and Bulls, respectively, that they would be interested in joining the Cavs. And I said, if that happens, and they also pull off the trade for Paul George, a team of Kyrie, LeBron, Paul George, Melo, and Wade still doesn't beat the Warriors. And, I don't know, people internalize that, Ryan, so many different ways, like LeBron hate, know nothing about basketball, whatever. Well, I actually think the person that thinks that team beats the Warriors doesn't know enough basketball, because it's a team game that requires 5 people to mesh together. It's not fantasy football or fantasy basketball. You pick the 5 biggest names, no matter if they're 35 years old and broken down, and think that's going to win. You have to play team basketball, and the Warriors know how to do that.
I agree with you. You know all of your defensive rotations. You know how everybody complements each other. It's why Durant, even though every team would go, we'll take Durant and we'll figure it out later, but there are teams that double up on some of the talent. Like if I ran a team, I would always just go, give me the talent, I'll figure it out a little bit later. Think how seamless it was for Golden State. They probably could have won more than 73 games if they wanted to. What did they lose? 2 games? 2 games for 2 months? And that was against a Jazz team where I don't even know how invested they were even in that game. So they plug him into an already perfect situation and it works out. To then say non-defensive guy in Melo, now with Kyrie, both kind of ball stoppers. Wade's not really a shooter off of LeBron. I'm just thinking this all out loud. LeBron can play with anybody, make everybody better. Then you got Paul George, who's kind of an ISO guy. I'm just supposed to, because it's new and it's a lot of names, I'm supposed to think that beats the Golden State Warriors this year.
Right.
And here's the problem with the newness. When it is new, we lose our minds. And I'm going to remind people about this forever. I'm going to be 70. Just whatever Twitter is then, I'll be tweeting it. Remember when people said, I'll probably misspell a few, or it'll just be letters and I'll hit send because it's in my pocket. But it'll be people actually thought last year that once they got Darren Williams and Andrew Bogut, that the talent power, the Cavs tilt the talent favor in their favor now. And you're like, what? With Bogut and Darren Williams? Have you seen the Darren Williams matchup video that Cerruti was talking about? Can we tweet that out from the show account? At Russillo Show, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Also remind you, if you're at work, you can stream all 3 hours of the show on ESPNradio.com. So Chris Paul, he's opting out. Houston is in on every rumor. I think they're better. They're smart to do this with Daryl Morey, but every year it's like, oh, yeah, we're in on that.
I love how you did it, by the way. That's such the dude at the bar that pretends like he already knew what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, we're on that one.
Hey, Daryl Morey, their GM. You guys going to get Blake Griffin? Oh, yeah. We can find a way to make it work. I look at their spreadsheet of players and everything they have, and I go, how are you getting them again? Like, how are you doing this? And look, they got Harden, and they got Dwight out of nothing. They made it work.
Such the guy that heard it for the first time. Hey, Ryan, did you hear about that thing going on in China? Oh, yeah. Been reading about that for a long time.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Right?
the excise, the tariff?
Yeah.
No. The geography. So if Chris Paul bounces, everybody wants him to go to San Antonio. I don't even really understand Houston. I can understand Houston saying, I would just look, it's Chris Paul. If he's available and we can find and make it work, we'll just go ahead. But you're going to completely change who Harden has been. And Harden has been this really skilled basketball player playing in this super system, like a good quarterback in Mike Leach's system in college. That's what Harden is to D'Antoni. So now you're going to take the ball out of Harden's hands and change.
Thank you.
So I feel feels like a little redundant.
You're a basketball expert. I'm so happy that for you because it made no sense to me from day one. It makes sense.
You would just go get him, right?
More talent.
Yes, right.
But you unlocked James Harden this year. Why take the ball out of his hands?
And he's a really good passer. It all worked. Like the Harden, the numbers, it's just staggering. I just don't know, again, that team by itself, it's not really doing anything in the playoffs, so maybe now you say, hey, everybody's going to take a step back numbers-wise, but we just have more talent. So fine. I wouldn't come on the next day and be like, Rockets, you're stupid, but it definitely impacts what Harden is or isn't with Chris Paul. But Doncic is just not even he's telling you, if Paul shows up, tell him you're not home.
To me, Chris Paul's the guy, what you call it in coaching is good enough to get you beat. And good enough to get you fired. He's really good. Your AD goes to the booster meet. Man, we got Chris Paul. God dang, is he good? He's the greatest assist guy. Yeah, well, why don't they win? He didn't win at Wake Forest. Why doesn't Chris Paul's teams overachieve? They never do. They generally underachieve, and I pointed him as being a fraud.
Fraud.
I'll sit back. You go ahead.
Well, what do you want? You want numbers? Nobody wants numbers, right? He's 5th all-time in NBA history in player efficiency in the playoffs. 5th all-time. You want to tell me the team doesn't get far enough? I get it. That Houston loss up 3-1, that's on his resume. I have no defense. But then it turns into he's bad in the big moments. He isn't. Hits a game winner in Game 7 against a Spurs team that shouldn't even been a 6th seed. That was an awesome 6th seed a couple years ago. That was the Pacquiao night. That's a big shot. I believe I operate in a world where I think there are situations where great players still can find a way to be disappointing in the playoffs, but it doesn't mean that they're a fraud. But everybody's heard this rant from me before. I don't get, like, why aren't his teams then just under 500? Why do they have one of the best winning percentages in the regular season? I think they're 3rd in the last 5 years. And so is he a choker? Is he all these different things? I think Doncic, he's so good at radio because he just hammers somebody. Here he's wrong. It's a great audio bite. This is great for him. But you're going back to Wake Forest not winning?
Overrated.
You agree with him?
No.
You have a smile on your face.
I just love seeing you all lathered up, man. I wanted to see you really let it go. I wanted to see spittle fly. I wanted to see that microphone take in some abuse.
I've done it too many times. I've done this rant too many times. But fraud to me is the guy that doesn't understand winning, that doesn't compete. Like Chris Paul competes so much it actually can annoy you sometimes because the stuff's dirty. Bringing it up, folk. When you're bringing it up and you stop with a big guy behind you and then run your hip into his, and then you get a call. I don't know how that works. It annoys the hell out of me too. I know he complains all the time, but are you telling me if Chris Paul were with more talented players over his career that he would prevent them from winning? Because that's what I hear when I hear fraud, and that's something I don't believe.
Yeah, well, because that's absurd. I guess my position on Chris Paul is this, and there's so many different thoughts to hold in your head at the same time, but number one, he doesn't make sense in Houston. You and I just went through that. Number two, it seems to have run its course in Los Angeles. We seem to have hit the ceiling that Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan can reach together. Now, that doesn't mean I think if you're the Clippers, it's time to sell and scrap it. I mean, from their perspective, how can you make it better? But from Chris's perspective, from Blake's perspective, I do think it's time to very seriously consider trying something new somewhere else. And I would love to see, as my final point, Chris in San Antonio. That seems to be the system, the coach, and the players that Chris Paul could end up proving you, Ryan, right.
Maybe I should want him to go to San Antonio. For all my Chris Paul stock. Fraud is tough, man. Fraud is like a knock on just... Like when I think fraud, I go, you don't care at all about winning. And I just have never seen that with Paul. All right, coming up next, it was a take that's been out there for a little while, but they are the most successful in sports when it comes to doing what they do, and now people are trying to say that they actually aren't that successful. With Will Cain, Russillo Show, it's ESPN Radio.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
I think something out there has been really complicated, and I think it's a really easy question. It has to do with Kentucky basketball. Because Kentucky basketball, John Calipari's draft record, what they've been doing now for almost a decade, he promotes the hell out of it. He should. I have no issue with it whatsoever, but that is a badge of honor. It's, hey, we won a championship, we're in the final, but we get dudes drafted, and he references over $1 billion of their earnings, and people are calling out the success of those players. It's Will Cain, the Russillo Show, it's ESPN Radio. This is all a precursor to Kerry Champion. Join us in about 10, 12 minutes. So,
all right.
Dudes are excited about that. So Pat Forty, who I love, I just disagree with him in this piece. I think he's a little, he's good with his facts to make his argument, and that is that young players do not make an impact in the draft. And that's the part where I would agree with him. But then we start digging down a little bit more, and we start looking at Kentucky and all these first-round draft picks and how many of them have not made an impact. Is that really a Kentucky problem, or is that a continuation of just what happens with young players, and they just have more than anybody else? Cowherd has also done this. He has been the anti-Kentucky guy, telling you, well, get the Kentucky guys in there. So then he'll just say, like, they're not. Like, he would, if he ran a team, he would not draft Kentucky players. It appears that Pat Forty, if he ran a team, he would say, I don't even really know about these Kentucky guys. And he uses some examples of the last few drafts not being super impactful, how many players that are young actually played in playoff teams. It just doesn't really happen that much, and it's an even worse stretch right now because the 2015 draft was, 2015 was good. 2016 was awful. Like, Brogdon could be Rookie of the Year here, all right? Here's what I would ask you. Back to the original point. If a bunch of these Kentucky guys since 2010 have not made a huge impact, do you think it's specific to who's been drafted and it being a Kentucky problem, or is it actually a lot simpler and this is just the way it works?
Well, first of all, help me understand. Has Kentucky had a massive miss rate compared to other programs putting guys into the NBA? I know I saw the list during the draft last week. There's a long list of Kentucky guys who get taken in the first round. Okay, is their miss rate somehow much greater than other teams? I have to question the premise.
Yeah, I don't think, like, there was an Alabama stretch there where you're taking players high from Alabama where it felt like, wait a minute, there's a bunch of misses here. And then it kind of turned back around and things are pretty good. Alabama was just going to have far more opportunities for misses because there were so many others. And then you start saying to yourself, would you actively, if you ran an NFL team, stop taking players from Alabama because it felt like there was a bunch of disappointments? And they had a stretch there where it felt like there was a bunch of disappointments. But to then say, you know what, I'm just not going to draft these guys anymore, that's what I'm asking anybody that's presenting this theory that Kentucky draft picks are not getting it done.
Yeah, that's absurd. It's absurd. What it assumes is there's something inside the Kentucky system or the way John Calipari develops these players that is fundamentally flawed, that creates wonderful one-and-dones taken high at the top of the draft, but go nowhere in their careers. And I can't accept that premise. And by the way, you put an indictment on the 2016 draft. Also, we're drafting 19-year-olds. Is it a little early to write off the 2016 draft?
Well, actually, maybe not.
Really?
No, you're
Jamal
right.
Murray?
Impact-wise, to say, okay, none of these players have made big impacts. Well, a lot of them getting drafted by awful teams, but 2016 is going to go down as a pretty bad draft, I would think.
But not just for Kentucky, you're saying?
No, not for everybody. So right. Cal's had since 2010, where it was, let's see here, that was number one pick, John Wall. He had DeMarcus Cousins going fifth, Patrick Patterson, and then Eric Bledsoe. Those are all first-round picks. He's had 20 first-round picks since that draft. The hit rate on first-round picks outside of the top 3 and then kind of outside of the top 10, it's pretty bad. Like, top 3 is where your stars are. Top 10, you hope to get a guy that maybe, is a starter, not even an all-star. Give me a starter who can start for a lot of years. If these 20th picks that get traded, we got a 22nd and a 24th. Well, you got a guarantee one guy's getting cut. Okay? Mm-hmm. So the hit rate isn't very good. But would you not want Jamal Murray right now?
Apparently, Denver said he was untouchable. That was some of the reports in this whole Paul George deal. Jamal Murray off the table.
Would you want Karl Anthony Towns in your team?
Think so.
Yeah. Would you want Willie Cauley-Stein?
Yeah, good player.
Would you want Devin Booker?
Definitely.
Would you want Julius Randle?
Yeah, kind of.
Would you want Nerlens?
I got him.
Got him. You got him on your team.
And excited about it.
I think we'd all want Anthony Davis. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist shouldn't have gone too. Way too high for somebody like I thought it was Bradley Beal all the way, but at the time the worst Kidd-Gilchrist was going to go was 3, and he's just kind of a limited player, but he's going to play in the league a long time. Then there's a bad stretch. Terrence Jones actually has helped teams. Darius Miller's a second rounder, Lamb's a second rounder, Teague, Brandon Knight still kind of lost in this Phoenix thing. John Wall, I'll take him. The other argument was that Wall is the only one out of this group that's even gone deep in the playoffs. DeMarcus Cousins, we all know how I feel there. Then you got Patrick Patterson, Bledsoe. That's what I would ask. If you're presenting to me that Kentucky has the Kentucky problem, the draft has a Kentucky problem, I would say half of these dudes we're naming, if I just listed every single name 20 deep, I'd want 10 of those guys on my team, and that's not a Kentucky problem. And
I need to see the list of other schools, North Carolina, UConn, Arizona, that is beating this percentage. And by the way, I mean, the number of players, the sheer gross number of players that Kentucky's putting in, runs the risk of reducing their hit rate because, like you said, the draft's hit rate's low anyways. So I want to know if Kentucky's doing it wrong, who's doing it right? Who's got the high hit rate? Let's
call research. Let's get him on that immediately. Hit us up at Russillo Show. All of our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Again, at Russillo Show, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Carrie Champion presented at BET. We're going to see if anybody got fresh with her. That's next on ESPN Radio. LeBron and Tom Brady, a discussion about power, who has more, and clearly it's LeBron. And why would it be that Brady has none? Is it the sport? A bunch of things we did at the top of the show with Will Cain, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. But we're always trying to keep up to date with all you kids out there. And last night, the BET Awards were a big part of social media. And to help us navigate through all of this, she is from SportsCenter. She's my friend, and she presented last night at BET. It's Carrie Champion. What's up?
What's up? And I can't keep up with kids, but thank you for saying that. Maybe you can help me keep up with the kids.
All right, we'll try.
We're in trouble. We are in trouble.
Will is really nervous about this part of the interview, question-wise. So we'll see where we go. All right, so give me the vibe. How is the BET compared to the years you used to go to the Source Awards when you were younger?
I've never been to the Source Awards, Ryan. I've never been to the Source Awards, so I can only speak to my BET experience. Is that a Will Cain question?
No, what are you talking about? That was Ryan. No,
I thought you were real hip hop. What's sorry. All right, let's just focus on the vibe of the BET Awards then last night. What? Because it seemed like dudes were still heated. There was a lot of stuff going down. Take us through all the stuff that you observed.
Okay, so you were absolutely correct. There was a lot of drama. They're going into it, though, and by way of background, this is what the kids are telling me. So going into it this weekend, like Los Angeles was crazy. So when the BET Awards are in town, you know it because you just see a bunch of people that you don't normally see. A scuffle, a scrum, not always, but sometimes. And so there was a couple of incidents that were leading up to the weekend. So in my mind, I'm thinking, man, this is going to be crazy. I'm going to have to get to bed early. I'm going to present and I'm going to go home. I can't be out here with this nonsense, what the kids are doing. But the vibe was very, inside the show, really nice. Very easy, people getting along. Behind the scenes, when you did the red carpet, that's when it was intense. I've never seen a red carpet as intense. People were pushing, shoving, angry, like not in the way that you felt a fight was going to break out, but it was very intense. Like, no, I'm more popular than you. No, I'm more popular than you. No, I have more albums than you do. It was interesting. I've never seen anything like it, ever.
Carrie, do you think how much of that is real and how much of that is showmanship? Like, is that real beef? Is that real anger? Or is that this would be really cool to get buzz here if we got into a little mix it up here?
I think people really don't like each other. So, like, I do believe that. But whether or not it's like Tupac Biggie beef, no, I don't think it's to that level. But I do believe that they don't like each other on a very small scale. But no one really wants to do anything about it. They might do a push, a shove, might talk a little trash, might walk up on you. But if they really wanted to do something, much like a game, they do it. You know what I mean?
All right, so we're talking with Carrie Champion here, trying to get through everything. What did you present last night?
I presented a Shine the Light Award, right? So they do this award based on people who do different things in the community. So they were honoring the Bennett brothers. And, we talk a lot about Colin Kaepernick, but we sometimes forget about the other athletes who are doing different things in the community. There's so many that are. You know that, right? So the Bennett brothers have been doing a tremendous job in a very different way and promoting a lot of wonderful things, which I think don't get promoted. And so they wanted to shine a light on them in all the different programs. Like Michael Bennett just started this program in Africa where he feeds 200 girls. Martellus is big about being in arts and with his Imagination Agency and making sure people are very big on creating a way other than sports. So through arts, science, math. And so we just highlighted what they did.
All right, so you present, but then I noticed that your presentation was a lot smoother than some of the Joe Budden stuff last night with Migos. So was he sick of Migos, and then Migos had to walk up on him? Did he felt like because that interview was kind of a disaster? What happened there? Because all the kids were tweeting about that.
Okay, so listen. So they have a show. Joe Budden has a show called Everyday Struggle with Academics. Have you seen that with DJ Academics? Have you seen that?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Will, have you seen that? Will,
no.
Will.
Carrie, no. No.
You have
But
it?
he was asked to be a guest on it, so we're trying to make that work.
Well, that's crazy. I'm surprised. Well, you have not. You
What do you mean that's crazy? You're surprised? I can't tell if you're making fun of me or.
I'm making fun of you, Will.
I know it's this brand I've got, and I'm only reinforcing it right now, which I want to peer into. Why do you say this about me, Carrie? What kind of assumptions are you making about me, Carrie? Oh, the problem with it is they just did a quiz, and I couldn't name a single song.
No, you got one right. Are you okay?
Did that dog eat you? What's going on?
Do you have an emergency button if you fall or something? You can...
Wait, can I say something? I am so sorry. My dog just barks nonstop, so I walked out to the backyard, and then I came back in to see if she was okay. And now she's doing something, and I was just trying to stop her. So I thought I was being smooth, but you hear it. Never mind.
No, we thought you were hurt.
No, so Joe Budden, he has this show, Everyday Struggle, and he interviewed Migos backstage out with the other co-hosts of the show. And they don't like each other because Joe's very honest. Joe basically said, "Only one of you are popular. You guys will break up eventually." So I'm giving you the version of what he said, the very the PC version. And they had a problem with it. They didn't like it. And Joe turns to the host of the show and said, "Look, wrap this interview now. Wrap it." And then the host wasn't rapping fast enough, so Joe basically just dropped his microphone and walked off. So Migos didn't like it.
You got to do something for Migos. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll admit the interview wasn't going great, though. I don't understand why they couldn't keep up. All right, final thought before we let Carrie Champion go here, because they said the same thing about Coast to Coast with David Lloyd. There were podcasts out there saying only one of you is talented and you're going to break up. So
don't talk about David Lloyd because
why are you assuming I was talking about David? All right.
I meant you guys were talking about he being better than me.
No,
I know.
David knows.
Yeah,
he's on vacation.
I'm well aware of it.
David's on vacation. He's not even going to hear this. Okay, now look, we've been friends, but am I going to have to talk to somebody about disrespecting you? Because I don't want to have to address 2 Chainz next time he's in studio. Was everybody cool with you, or did anybody get out of line?
Let me think. I was sitting next to Busta, and he told me to tell you he loves the show.
Word.
And just real quick, he did tell me to tell you that. He was like, "I'm down with Russillo. That's no lie. That's a true story." You know who Busta is, right?
Me?
Yeah. Are you kidding?
I had drinks with this lawyer this weekend. You think I'm lying? What's funny is you think I'm lying.
No, I don't. But that was the best Will Cain Russillo dynamic ever. Busta Rhymes gave me a shout out, and then you're like, "Oh, I met his lawyer, had drinks."
Are you kidding?
No, Will isn't kidding.
It also represents 50.
Look at you, Will.
It's 50, but that's cool.
That's fine. Yeah, no disrespect. They showed me a lot of love. I did it for the culture. They were very good.
You're the best, and we'll see you in a few weeks, all right?
All right. Bye, sweetie.
All right, Carrie Champion.
Bye, Carrie.
Coast to Coast. That was unbelievable how that just happened.
What? My Busta lawyer?
You know his lawyer?
Met him on Friday. Had drinks.
Met him, or just...
Met him for the first time.
That's
I got
great.
some problems. I got some issues I got to work through.
You have a problem?
I am. I'm preparing for legal problems I might cause.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm kidding. It was social,
wait a minute.
start to finish.
I want to do that next. Let's tease this. No, we won't do that. We have a Brady and LeBron James comparison where James wins, but also the ugliest dog was voted on, and we have a winner, and it's 2017. We still doing this?